There we go. All right. All right. Now you are actually live. We are using the tools we have available. Thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. This is a really incredible position we're in with all of these, quarantine times, and the pandemic all over the world. But eventually, we were supposed to meet up on March 30th. We already scheduled actually a nice workshop you guys were supposed to be giving here at SAE Amsterdam. And then, a couple of days after that, we were supposed to join to the music messe in Frankfurt, but of course, all of that was cancelled out. So this is kind of my effort to, bring you into the show and still sharing what you guys have on the menu for us today. I know that you've been working extremely hard on something new. The last time we met, I think it was at the AES in New York, October 2019. I think I have a nice image of that. I think, if you can check it there, I think, now people can see it. That's a picture we took during the AES 2019. Seems like a lifetime ago, but actually it is less than 6 months away from where we're at. I mean, that's incredible. But
it is.
How are you guys dealing with everything? How it's been for you to be stuck at home? And have you managed to go back to the new norm? So maybe first you, Cliff Senior. There you go.
You bet. Sure. Well, I'm in my home right now. My studio's always been in my home, so it's been kind of nice for that. I've had things come because of the internet and the speed of the upload and download. I've been able to get projects in that I've been able to work on and tune vocals and do a bunch of stuff like that. So it's been really great that way. And also Maag Audio is close here, so I'm able to take and get all of the building and all of those other things during this pandemic, and still the commute's been really good.
That's really, really nice to hear, man. I mean, the fact that you have a home studio up and running, I had to pack some of the stuff from my studio and bring it home, and now I turn my living room into, this sort of home studio, but without speakers, because of course the acoustics in here are not meant to be ideal for proper studio work. So I had to be, stuck with headphones. I managed to get 3 different pairs of headphones, so I can kind of assess how things should sound in the real world. But honestly, I'm really looking forward to go back to the studio, because this is going insane, not only in terms of economics, but also in terms of mental health, if I can put it that way, because we are really not used to this. And the biggest question mark, we don't even know what's going to be like. I'm not saying 10 years from now, but 3 months from now, we don't even exactly know how that's going to be. So, but
the new normal.
That's what they say, the new norm and the new normal. I don't know what does that mean at this point, to be honest. What about you, Cliff Mack Jr.? Yeah, what's your experience out of this?
Yeah, it's definitely a change, and I think the positive about it that I see is that it just really gives us time to reflect on what's most important in our lives, and with the people. And I think music overall brings people together, and we're designed to be communal, to be with each other and be around people. So the isolation and whatnot, it's definitely been difficult, but hopefully through music, we can get back to some type of normal, whatever that might be. But just kind of nice to see that it gave us a pause to look at what's important in life. And I think that's important.
Totally agree with you. We all have a chance to, make a turn of our life out of this. That's a big, it's a big chapter in whatever our life. We're gonna tell our kids about this. That's for sure.
Yeah,
and it's gonna be on history books as well. Now, the thing I really wanted to ask you, first of all, what time is it over there? Because here it's 7 p.m. in Amsterdam.
Right now, 10 minutes after 11.
Because you guys are based
In the morning.
in the morning.
In the
All
morning.
right. So you're in the past.
Yeah.
You're in Utah,
Yeah.
correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay, that's cool. I was doing a little bit of research, and yesterday I was having a little chat with you, Clips Jr., about how's the in terms of stats there, the situation with the pandemic. Seemed that you guys have not been hit so hard, thanks God. So that's
Correct. Yeah, in Utah, the numbers are pretty low, so
that's
we've been fortunate that way.
That's great to hear. Great to hear, man. Yeah. So I have a few questions that have been compiling by the people commenting on the on the live stream. There's a lot of questions. Let's see how many of those we can cover during this short stream. But I mean, now we know where you guys are based, what time it is, how you've been dealing with this. How's the home situation? I mean, have you ever been so much time within your home walls and everybody in there at the same time? Because that's the other change as well.
Yeah, I've never ever experienced anything like it, but I know that we'll get back to the normal thing here. And I just know that we will, and that things will iron themselves out. It'll be a little different how we handle things or how we look at things. We'll always look at things a little differently after this, but I know that we'll get back to where we're engaged with everybody, recording and doing those things, person to person again. So I feel I'm still real positive about it, and just grateful that. At my age that I didn't, get it, and so I kind of want to make sure I don't, if I can.
You have to make sure of that as much as you possibly can, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, I have my dad. He's kind of within, I think he's within your age. I think he's 71.
Yeah.
He's from the 49.
Yep.
Maybe.
He's up. He's exactly my age.
There we go. And they're in Rome, and man. Now I'm dealing mentally a little bit better, but the first 2 months I was extremely scared if I'm gonna be able to see them again. I cannot travel there.
Yeah.
And and thanks God they haven't been affected directly themselves. I do have my sister who's a doctor in Rome. She's been seeing some really hardcore stuff, but now things seem to be going back into the new norm, as they call it. But at least they don't have so many people dying on the corridors or on the hallways of the hospitals. So that's great. But yeah, we need to do everything we possibly can to lower the amount of chances that we can get this deadly virus, especially protecting the old people.
That's right. And one of the things that helps all of us on the outs, where we can at least connect now. I'm just grateful that we can connect now and talk to some of the guys that are out there feeling the same things we're talking about, because we got to start looking at some positive things and start to, look to move forward and keep our spirits up and help each other to keep them up. And this is great to interact like this.
Yeah, thanks so much, Pietro, for putting this on.
I mean,
we're honored to be a part of this today, so thank you.
Again, we're going to have you coming back to Amsterdam and the Music Messe hopefully soon, if there's going to be a Music Messe next year. But this is kind of a little appetizer, and also, again, showcasing that the industry is still there. We haven't disappeared all of a sudden.
Nope.
We just had to adapt to a new way of working, and the first months have been extremely challenging, again, because we're not prepared. I've been doing online classes over Zoom for SAE, and that's also been an extreme challenge. So I spend most of my time talking to this camera than anybody else. It's kind of a weird thing.
Yeah, but that's the new norm.
That's the new norm.
Talking to a camera.
Imagine if we didn't have this. So now you guys are coming all the way via Skype from Utah, US. I'm in Amsterdam, and we are streaming live to so many people. YouTube is also something that again they have over 2 billion. Users, so that's incredible. You can reach out to so many people, man.
It's amazing. It's amazing that the technology now and how it allows us to be together.
And
it also gives a different dynamic too, Pietro and Cliff Sr., where you are working from home and you get to see inside of people's homes.
True.
So in that sense, it's a little more intimate from that way to connect with people. You might have a dog come up, or I've got 5 children might barge in here, but it's all part of it. So it's good stuff.
I agree. I've been following so many streams from all of the different departments at SAE Amsterdam. Also, actually, finally having the chance to be on those classes without physically being there. So I've been also, doing a little bit of studies on IT, programming, stuff that I couldn't really do it because I was teaching at the very same time. And guess what? Now I can even do that. So it's a new asynchronous way, if you wish, to kind of work and even get more productive in a way, even though we should define productivity maybe for the future one more time. But let's go and jump straight into the sticks here. I have so many questions.
Sure.
So I want to start with the simple one, the one that I always get asked. I think the first time we met, again, it was 2 or 3 years ago at the Music Messe, and we didn't know each other. I just asked you if I could do a little interview with you and showcase your products, and we very quickly just, really clicked, and that was awesome. But basically, the thing that I always get asked, and especially since that video came out, all of my essay students ask me about it, is do you know the story behind the airband? What is that thing? How is it possible that that little circuit makes wonderful and magic? So what is the deal? So I'm going to ask the man behind the airband EQ, what's the deal with it? And where did it all come from?
Well, let me tell you, back in the 80s, I had a vocal chain that I ended up needing to be able to get the sound that was happening on vocals back in that day. And it was a very open sound that had what I just call air. And what I learned is I had to have some elements to do that. I had a C12, a Stephen Paul 1.5 micron element C12. And then I had to have my a Boulder preamp at the time, the twin servo. Ooh. And then I had my LA2A. So those three things created a sound that I was hearing on records back in the early 80s. We Are the World, Michael Jackson, all of that thing was all cut with all of that, with those C12s and with that chain. And I knew that from my buddies who were engineers in LA at the time. And so I had that. I still own that, and except for the Boulder. But what we did, and the reason that I bring it up, is I had to first learn what that open sound was, and that open air sound. And that delivered it to analog 2-inch tape at the time, and half-inch 2-track.
That's even more challenging because, of course, then you have the hiss of the tape.
Exactly, and so that's where it all started from. Once I learned what that was, I became not satisfied with what my console preamps were delivering, my custom console. So I decided at that time I'd design and work on a preamp that I could put in the console that would bring it up to where I could get that open sound in my console. And so that's where I build up a preamp and build them into that Boulder. It had more room for more places, and we learned the circuit that brought the airband about in that preamp. So we added an airband to the preamp to make the mics open. Other mics that I had, it already made the C12 open because of the LA2A and the C12, but the preamp was the key to get it to where we could open that up. I decided, man, I know that my ribbon mics have high end in that ultra high end area that I wasn't able to hear. So we incorporated the airband in the preamp. That's where it was actually born, is in that microphone preamp that we designed. And that the first run we had of that was nothing but a hiss switch, and then we got it developed to where we were able to open the high end up on ribbon mics and a U87 even, and even dynamic mics to be able to change what happened in those. Then from there it ended up in an EQ that we developed, and we had that circuit without the airband. Then I thought, man, let's just put that airband on top of where it's at, of where the 5 bands were. And that's how it ended up in the EQ3 back in the old Night Pro days. And then the EQ4 that we have now with Maag Audio. This is, basically that circuit to accomplish it. It's the same circuit
Right.
to be able to do that.
Let me rewrap. That's incredible story. And guys, just by the man behind itself. So basically, you, in order to assess a specific, let's say, limitation you had in your own setup, yeah?
Yep, absolutely.
You develop it from scratch. And through the years, the first prototype was basically a mic preamplifier with that circuit built in.
Yes.
And
yes.
And then after that, you build upon that and created the NTI3, I assume.
That's correct. We did that after we had the preamp, and I had, a matter of fact, in that old console, I loaded 24 channels of that preamp and bypassed the old preamp and loaded those in with a one switch airband. I'd flip it in, and I'd just put it in, and it'd just add that presence that the C12 would, that I needed to hear, like, so I could make it more like what the C12 was, or open up the presence of the mic, the different mics I had. So that's where it ended up.
And that was
then from there to the
NTI3
EQ.
that we're talking about. What era? That's the 90s?
90.
Yeah.
1990.
Okay, got it.
Yep, around 1993, I think, is when we first came out with that.
So when I was working on all of it, it was about 1984, 85, 86 to get everything developed. And then we hit the 90s, and that's when we started NTI.
And I get chills. I was born in 1985.
That's funny.
That's so cool. That's so cool. And this brings me to the next question. Now people from the house from the stream can also see. I have a EQ4M here. Yeah, the guys on the stream can see it. So one thing I wanted to ask you, since we just dived into the airband, how the heck is it possible that, because in the airband that you nowadays have, there are different frequency points.
Yeah. Yes.
And something that I think it's probably the only EQ where I don't hear the phase shift whenever I go banana with it. Well, what's the story with that? Because that's part of the same circuit, but again, I don't hear that phase.
Swish.
Yes, that swish. You said right. So what's the deal there?
Well, this airband, it's kind of proprietary, the circuit that we have, and how, the algorithm that we came up with to be able to accomplish it, to get it exactly where it had to be. But because of that, there's virtually no phase shift in it. And so when you move it, everything stays in alignment as you boost or cut. So it never shifts. That's when it shifts is where you feel the swish.
Okay.
So as I pull it down, it swishes. If I pull it up, it swishes the other way. So off of where the center is. And so we're able to literally have all of those 5 bands be where it doesn't move back and forth like that when you boost it. And as soon as it does that, it destroys it. It literally takes an orange and turns it into an apple when you bring it up, or into a grape when you bring it down. So it's you see what I mean? It changes the color of what it is, and how everything, the relationship of everything to the original, spectrum.
Totally. And the more complex is the program material, let's say the entire mix, and the worse it gets.
Yep. And we knew that, and that, we came up with a way to be able to test and figure out how to get that where there's virtually no phase shift. In a matrix, you remember the old Dolby matrix?
Yeah.
Two channels, break it down, kicks it into the surround, is done with phase shift. So what the problem was, you take the 2 channels and EQ it, and as soon as you started to EQ it, shifted the phase and would throw things into the rears that, needed to stay in the mains. So that you couldn't EQ it. This EQ, you literally can put on that Dolby matrix, and I don't care how you turn it, you can EQ it any way, and it stays everything perfectly in the matrix. And it was tested at Warner Brothers for, like half hour. They tested trying to make it on the main stage, the
main dubbing stage,
with the main mixing stage,
okay.
And the mixing stage it's like a full theater setup.
Yeah.
And it would never jump out of phase. And so the next day we ended up at one of the
Chinese
theater, Chinese theater, where they have the complex of the with the showing the movies, and they literally put it on one of the movies all day long, and we EQ'd it for that movie through the Matrix. Is that crazy?
That's extremely crazy, guys. But that's at the end of the day, it's also showcasing that the whole entertainment industry. It sounds like something gigantic where nobody knows each other, but actually, we tend to know each other, and we might move from company to company. That's not your case because you have your own company. But at the end of the days, the technology keep on advancing based on what was available in the past. See how we can tweak it to assess a more modern sound or technique, and that's really, 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 really cool. And now, I mean, I have so many questions coming up on the YouTube chat, which is great. I mean, I have definitely have one about somebody's asking what's the difference between the 500 series EQ4 and the EQ4M 19 inches rack.
Okay, do you want me to answer that one?
Go
what
ahead.
it is, it has an attenuator in it. That is a huge deal for me, and that was so that I could adjust the gain back after I added gain with EQ, and then I could attenuate it back. So that was the major difference. As far as the circuitry is concerned, they're identical, except for that point. Except the 2 rack has 18-volt rails. The 500 series, which has more headroom, the 500 series gives us a little less headroom, but they sound both, identical, and we've got enough headroom to handle anything we're going to do in the DAW today, in our DAWs today.
There's also an extra airband frequency as well in the EQ4M, and we have hardwire bypasses for the EQ4M versus the EQ4.
That is, thanks for chiming in, Junior, because that is one of the reasons why I fell in love with this unit, and especially for this home setup where I'm running basically, I don't know, just put it, mainly it's stem mastering and stem mixing, and the ability of not having, I don't have a patch bay here available with this setup, so the availability of having a real bypass, to me, it's a lifesaver. Because I can, it's not I can forget about it. And the second thing that I kind of showcase now, I'm going to bring it one more time, it is this input attenuator, which is kind of stepped as well, which basically allows me to perfectly match left and right, or whatever I'm doing if I'm using in stereo mode. And also it allows me to gain stage it there. So I don't have to do it somewhere else and then recall that setting. I can do it right there. And that's always that, man, this is it's a game changer for my studio, I can tell you that.
And let me tell you something for the guys that have the 500 series that'll help them. If you have an EQ and you've pushed it and now you're overdriving a bit, if you'll take and just move them back one click every single knob, it will be the exact same EQ curve, push and pull, the exact same curve, and it will be like 2 dB or 3 dB less. So, you need to, you can adjust some gain by that so that you don't overdrive that circuit. So, because sometimes you might want to push hard at, 650. You know what I mean? Push it harder. So now you've got the gain. Now you can take everyone else, drop them back one. Now you're right back in the with the same curve.
That's really smart. I love that. So higher headroom, an extra frequency to pick. Different, of course, power supply, hence the extra headroom, and the stepped
attenuator.
The attenuator and the stepped controls as well. Okay, that's super cool. Now
and the extra band pass in the EQ4M.
Yeah, it is
in the air band.
And the EQ4 500 series, it also has step switches as well.
It does.
So
okay.
Both have step switches.
Thanks for bringing that. Correct. I mean, honestly, the first time I saw this blue units, it was watching Dave Pensado's show. Yeah. I had even the chance to get to meet him. I was NAMM show 2013. He came on board of the bus. We shot a little interview with the Lennon bus, and he was a myth for me. And whenever I would see something that he would use, I would dive deep into research mode and say, okay, what's that? And plus the color itself, it already like brought so much interest for me, and I was so extremely curious. And he was using the 500 series units, and he was praising by them. And then again, that's why 2016, when I was at the Music Messe on my own with the RedStone production channel, I said, I need to speak with Cliff Maag. I need to figure out what's the deal here. And here we go. A few years forward, there we go, talking about it over the internet.
I delivered Dave the NTI EQ3 in 1992, I believe, or 91, and he used it all of those years, clear till he got the Maag EQ4 500 series.
That's incredible.
So what an amazing engineer and what a great friend.
One comment, just since we are kind of finishing off on the EQ4M, one of my former students commented it on the Instagram post that one of the main reasons he also loves your EQ and plugins, we're going there, is the fact that it's a musical EQ that doesn't let you think so much in terms of what frequencies, shall I look at it, it's just drive it, see, it sounds good, that's it. That's you don't have to think about, okay, where shall I no, let's just play with it, like if you would be in front of a console. You don't need to see on an SSL exactly every single frequency point, you just go with it. The more you do it, and this EQ, since it's so musical, and also the phase shift is basically non-present, you can just really drive it, and at the end of the day, it's an enhancer box. Everything sounds better after it. So
it keeps you in the music. It keeps you in the music, not looking at numbers. That's what, to me.
Totally.
I believe that's really important.
It is,
because
and
you
all
lose
the designs.
focus.
And all the designs that Maag Audio has are based on that, keeping you in the music. For example, our Magnum K, we have meters that are lights, so you don't have to like look at a meter. You can actually just see the intensity of the lights. And if anybody's ever used a Magnum K, you'll see that. But we design the gear so it keeps you in the music as much as possible.
If on the Magnum K, you'd literally be looking at 6 meters going, trying to figure out what you're doing, where all you need to see is just that little blip that tells you what it's doing and that it's operating and doing what it's supposed to do.
Love it. Love it. I have so many questions coming in, but I'm going to try to quickly jump through them.
Sure.
Let's see. This is another cool one. You guys recently moved into modeling your hardware units and create plugins together with other partners. I'm blessed to have the universal audio version of your EQ4 because I'm running on an Apollo in this specific home studio setup. But you also have been working with Plugin Alliance, and so how was all of that? Are you transitioning to plugins? What's the story behind the plugins? When did you guys release the first one, and what was the process? Did they contact you? Maybe you can chime in, or did you guys contact them and say, can you guys help us to model the hardware unit?
Yeah, you bet. I can jump in here, Pietro.
Sweet.
So yeah, that started about 2011. So we had come out with the EQ4 and the 500 series.
Right.
And at that time, Dirk Ulrich with Plugin Alliance hit us up, and he's like, hey, we want to model your gear. It sounds amazing. And that's kind of where it started. So through Plugin Alliance and Dirk Ulrich, also Brainworks, is where the modeling, and that's who has done all of our modeling. It's through Dirk and his team with Plugin Alliance. They've done an outstanding job. World class when it comes to plugins.
I agree.
And so it started with the EQ4. We modeled that. And then UA wanted in on that as well. And so we worked a deal with UA to be able to use it in their UAD format. Thus, you have the EQ4 there. And then from there, we continue to model our hardware. Our route is still in hardware.
Okay.
So we create the hardware because we know there is a slight difference between the hardware and plugins. And so our base is in hardware. And as we perfect the hardware, and there's a way for it to be in plugin form, we work with our partners, Plugin Alliance, to make that happen.
That's really, really, really nice. So you guys are, I mean, I know that BrainWorks, they are probably one of the top three developers when it comes down to super high quality plugins. I've seen they recently announced their Maag. It was just, you know, I'm a big fan of their work. They are really good and they're top of the game, big time. So that was
Yep.
great. But on the other end, the fact that you also made it available for the DSP platform on the Universal Audio, that's also a really nice, slick move because again, that's for instance the way I have it going right now, you know, and that's really cool. But you still want to stick to your hardware legacy for the most part, and at the same time keep on developing with these super good partners. Kind of the
One of the things that happens with the software that we've learned, and we learned through this whole process,
Okay.
is it teaches people how to use the equipment, especially the EQ4, the Magnum K, because it's very complicated. Dave Pensato told me I learned how to use the Magnum K by the presets that I put in the Magnum K. So he literally took his rack mount units, a pair of them, and copied those exact settings to it to get the starting point. So he learned what all of the sections were doing.
Makes sense. That makes total sense. Plus, if Dave is, you know, that's a big statement from him. That's great. And that's the other thing as well. Most likely, none of my students will be able to have 8 channels of EQ4M. And
Exactly.
they don't need that to start. They absolutely don't.
No, they don't at all.
Because
No,
it's
they don't.
2020. There are plugins that will get you 90% there, which is more than enough. And especially
Exactly.
if you're learning, that's something that's incredible. I remember when I started, when I was a student on the other side of you know, of the teaching bench, man, it was super hard. I remember in order to be able to open Pro Tools, you had to buy their own interface. And I was like,
yes,
Jesus, so that's now I need to spend 2K on an interface, which is not going to even sound that great. And just to be able to launch the actual DAW. But now a lot of things have changed since then, and the availability of plugins out there, it's so massive that sometimes you even get onto the other side of the spectrum where there are so many plugins out there that people don't know what to use anymore. This is just how I deal with it. I try to go through my plugin list every 3 months.
You bet.
Yeah, and then once at the end of the year, in December time. At the end of the year, if I haven't used any of those plugins, I'm just going to delete them. I don't need them, okay? And
I hear you.
That's it's the same thing that we would do with the studio racks, if you think about it. You know, things come and go. Things come and go, but you don't need everything all the time. And the plugins are just making everybody's life easier when it comes down to learn and experiment with the gear. So that's great.
That's right.
That's cool. We are going a little bit long, but I just
sorry.
No, it's all good. I mean, it means that people are really interested. Okay, I have a question from a former student of mine on the live chat. It's the last question that we got from them now live. It's Fabrizio Improta. Are new products on development for the future?
Ooh, they are.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, we have a preamp that we have right now, but I wanted to get a new preamp that would be discrete, that would give me a great DI in, that I'd have some control over what it's doing on the input. It's going to be in a 2-rack space, and it will do a 500 series too, but it won't have the DI in, but it will have all of the other good stuff. The preamp has a high pass that's variable high pass.
Okay.
You know, so I can control where the bottom end is, and it's variable with the detented switch, so that I can, you know, move it wherever we want the high pass to filter. Then it has the air band as well, and then it has the instrument in. The thing that's cool about the 2-rack that has the instrument in, it's 2 channels of it.
Okay.
So you hit the instrument in, you plug it in, it switches automatically. If I had a mic up, it would switch automatically without any noise to just the slide in of the barrel into it, the barrel plug, and then I can take anything that I'm the DI that I'm using, and put the high pass on that, and I can boost the low end so it has basically, and sorry,
All right.
let that roll by. Basically, it has the EQ2 with that zeroes in on the bottom end. So now I can take and high pass it and adjust the bottom end of where I may want the bass.
That's
Do you understand what I'm
I
saying?
do
So now I can push it, but I've high passed it, so I'm not pulling up anything weird down in the low frequencies, way low. Then it has the air band as well with that, if you on other things that you may be doing. So that and then the other thing that I like about it is that when you use it, you're also going through the transformer on the preamp.
Okay.
So now you've accomplished a couple of things there. So on the DIN, and so that's what it'll have on the two channels, basically, of that, and then that's pretty much it. But I know that it's sounding amazing on my piano right now. I've had it a couple of friends check it out, and I get the comment back from my son who plays Ryan. Ryan, he's our partner, helped with us, got all of this started on the 500 series stuff and got us rolling to even get into doing it. Ryan plays the piano, and when he heard it the first time with a pair of these just in the studio, just on the circuit board, hooked up right here in this room, he said, "Man, I've never heard this piano sound like this." I mean, and that's what I've got a couple of times. So I think it's really doing some good stuff with this new pre. We'll have people check it out and see where it's headed.
That's so good to hear, you guys. I mean, you haven't announced it yet, but you guys sharing the info behind the scenes,
sharing it with the guys.
We were talking about this. You were already working on the prototype on October. But thank you so much for sharing this piece of information. We got the question, really coming from the chat, and thank you so much for getting back to them.
Happy to tell you we're getting real close on it.
That's cool. So it's going to be a 2-channel, 2 unity rack, 19 inches spaces, fully discrete with a high impedance input that you can plug and go with it. You have basically a high pass filter, but also a little boost, so that can basically create a nice little resonance down there, and also an air band on the top.
Yep. Plus it also goes through the transformer of the.
The high Z also goes into the Maag Pre transformer.
And here's another thing too that it does. We're able to have it connected in so that you can use it on the 2 bus with another line level in, so that now you can just change right to that, and you've got all of that EQ section and that you can use on the.
It's gonna be blue, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Okay, sweet.
Yeah. So what it's going to give somebody is that may not have an EQ2 or an EQ4 or a 4M. They can actually put it on their 2 bus and use it on their final mix.
That's really, really, really cool, man. We have so many other things going on. I have one last question from me, if I can. Yesterday or the day before, I was checking out an interview that the CEO of Sweetwater released, where it's basically, it says that their actual sales went way up since this pandemic hit us. So again, just trying to share and basically send the message out that the industry is still there. There are, like bumps, and it's going up and down. Specific brands and specific retailers are even actually making the extra money because they're selling in high quantities. We still don't know. That's what comes out of that interview at the end. We don't know for how long there are going to be so many requests, because now everybody rushed getting their camera, the live stream set up, their little microphone, their little whatever it is set up to get the stream going and to be able to to work from home. But how has it been, and how has the actual COVID-19 kind of hit you in terms of sales and manufacturing? How's that going, guys?
Yeah, as far as for the first month, which I would say is kind of April, March timeframe in there,
Right.
we did see a little bit of a lull there. Um, since then, we've seen an increase to where it's normal for us right now as far as sales go,
Okay.
which is good. We've shipped a lot of equipment lately to Europe. In fact, a whole heck of a lot. Just this last couple of weeks, there's been a lot of gear going to Europe.
Cool.
I think also some of the impact, like in the U.S. for sales here, there were these checks that were given out to U.S. citizens, for example, and I think some of those people took advantage of some of that money and were able to buy what they needed,
Yeah.
and some that was equipment, like you were talking about. So we're hoping that it stays. Our I guess concern would be that it wouldn't, depending on where things go from a long term.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're just playing it safe, and we're going to continue to build and continue to innovate and come out with products
Yeah.
that actually help engineers with their craft. That's our whole desire. So we're still going to be here. We're in a state too where our
Yep.
company, we have no debt. We're able to sustain where we're at,
That's good.
and so we're gonna be here for the long term, and we're gonna keep innovating and provide the products that people need.
Guys, so good to hear that. So good to hear. Again, I know that it's a really nice, high-quality family business that you guys are running there, and but still, you're managing to get into pretty much every pro studio around the globe, because you basically built up on your legacy coming from the 90s, and very much you've been respecting that philosophy. So you just grow as a family business, and to be able to
Yep.
to hear that you guys are managing within these crazy circumstances, it's I'm really glad to be hearing that from you. Now, what I have on the menu, it's the giveaway. Now that's where everybody really wants to. So I'm gonna go and check on my iPhone, my smartphone, let's call it like that, if we got any extra entrants, some late guys. Oh yeah, we got a lot of extra ones. Okay. All right, so you know what? I'm gonna send this to my Excel generator, and then I'm gonna randomize the names, and hopefully we'll be fair with each one of them. Let me see if I can get this going. And
While he's doing that as well, whoever does win, it's just managed. It'll be through Plugin Alliance, and we'll just need your email account that's tied to Plugin Alliance, and from there we can set you up
Yep.
with that plugin.
For sure.
that's great, guys, and thanks again for this just giveaway. This is the first giveaway I ever do, to be honest. And but I thought it would be nice to actually enable people with a
Yeah.
little license, and that way we can kind of build up from what we had, and hopefully somebody 10 minutes from now is going to be happier than it was before because he just received the giveaway. So okay, I think I got it. Yes, I should be able. So if I go, yes, let me randomize, let me bring it in here. I should have it here and here. All right, Leslie Anthony Music, you are the winner. So he wrote down, this one is definitely on the wish list. Love the bottom end feature and the air function. Would be really dope to be able to use this daily. Well, you got it, thanks to them. So
Yep.
thank you so much, guys, for for
Very
doing that
cool.
little gift to one of our subscribers. Hopefully we can see each other sometime soon. I'm really looking forward to to get out of this little apartment. You have no idea how much I'm struggling
Yeah.
here, but on the other end, I'm blessed that we're all safe. And this is again just a little testament to show everybody out there that we're still here. We are dealing with it and coming up with new solutions, just like these live streams that I get going every Friday on here. So thank you so much. Thank you so much. And I hope to, again, to be able to talk with you. If you have anything, if you want to be back onto the show, if you're always welcome. You're now family big time. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome, guys. And
Thank you,
Be
Pietro
safe.
and RedStone
Yeah,
Production.
Pietro.
be safe.
Yep. Thank you, Pietro.
Cheers. Cheers.
Ciao.
Ciao.